Some people like to tell their stories through writing. Some people like to tell their stories through painting. And yet some like to tell their stories through building. As for me, I like to use all three. Welcome to Hobby Time Tales. What's happening, people? A little while back, I bought probably the very great printer, the Elegoo Saturn 4 Ultra. I'm sorry this video took so long in the making, but it's a big project and my family's been pretty busy. The first thing that came to my mind when opening this printer was how big it was. The printer I had before this was a Anycubic Photon Mono 2. Nearly like a third of the size of this printer. It's huge. And it's my first product of Elegoo that I've ever bought. As I unpackaged this printer, the only thing I could think of was what great things I could create with it. All the things, all the possibilities of models and terrain and diorama pieces that I could 3D print in stunning 8K detail. Which I don't see all the hubbub about 16K printers. Like, all I worry about is layer lines. I started up, did all the login thingies, satisfyingly took off the protective films, and then fill it up with resin for a first print. I know I shouldn't have, but the first file I ever printed was a Lord Marshall Dreer file. Well, that's the time that everything started going south. My original idea was to make a small 500-point force consisting of Lord Marshall Dreer with a cool base, 1 Lehman Russ, 1 unit of Tempestus Aquilians, and 1 unit of Death Korps of Krieg. Foreshadowing, it didn't work out. I started by enhancing the base with some texture, and then use some epoxy sculpt and some bits to customize it a little bit. Like this old Space Marine head glued to the base. And then I glued on the rider that's not meant to be Lord Marshall Dreer, but I was going to have it as Lord Marshall Dreer. That's what it's called. Next came printing the Death Korps of Krieg. Printed them in batches of 20, so I had more than enough for a 10-man squad. Next, I printed the Tempestus Aquilians, which some of the parts kind of fail. Like, there were several options of servo sentries, and only one of them worked. Soon I had printed everything and put them on laser cut bases that I customized with some bits of foam, texture paint, and bits. This is the Lehman Russ that ended up looking like a Rolgadorn and was way not the right size. This is before I knew what Russes looked like. Me being a Space Marine player, primarily. I ended up trashing the Lehman Russ actually in the end, and you will see its purpose in a later video. Here I'm customizing the bases for the Tempestus Aquilians. Using various pieces of cork, foam, and balsa wood. Here's the whole little force, ready to be primed. And then here I started experimenting with the paints. In the end, I didn't go with any of these color schemes, but yeah. Lesson learned. I was going to paint them the 143rd Siege Regiment of Krieg, or the 266, I believe, or the 172nd? I had test models for all of those. But in the end, that's not what I ended up doing. I started making a new list. 2 units of Ogrins, 1 unit of Ratlings, 1 5-man unit of Tempestus Lions, 1 unit of Tempestus Aquilians, 4 units of Death Corps of Krieg, 2 artillery crews, 3 Lehman Russes, one of them a commander, 2 Tech Presenteers, 1 Rogadorn commander, 1 Baneblade, and for some cavalry, 1 unit of Death Riders, my Warlord, Lord Marshal Dreer. So I got printing. I also FDM printed some bits for some bit larger pieces bases, like the artillery crews. That's where all my troubles arose. The first print of the Baneblade, the turret, or turrets, worked well. I made a mistake of making one solid. And then the middle section worked with slight warping, but it was still okay. It still worked fine. But as for the third piece, yeah, it may look okay from this angle, but right there. There were some rips, and then some major warping on just the flat part that meant to connect with the rest of the tank. And then on the side, sponsoons, I believe they're called. And then these huge slashes down the side. And the whole thing was just kind of shrunk a little bit. It was complete garbage. I just decided, for this video, I would print the butt of the Baneblade, as I called it, later. And then start working on this. I glued on some of the grenade launchers for like the smoke grenades and the regular grenades. Put on the heavy bolter turret and the big turret. This is a good time to point out that the file I downloaded for the Baneblade was actually meant to be an epic scale model. So it has no tiny details, but this army is primarily meant for gaming and just being my first big army, so I wasn't too worried. I put on the tiny laser turrets. The turret's barrel. Then I glued on Servo Sentry from another Tempestus Aquilians print, one that all of them worked. Death Korp Krieg Runner, a little machine gun nest, and some crates. This is a free miniature of the month rattling from my local Warhammer store. And then these are my family's. They voluntarily gave them to me. Then I wanted to kit bash them to be all unique Krieg rattlings, which I'm sure all you who know your Krieg lore know that they don't like rattlings, but I wanted them for their more shooty power. A lot of aggressive cutting and hacking happened in this process. I sawed off actually a couple leftover Death Korp Krieg miniatures heads. And this guy's torso. I glued on an alternate torso from a failed Death Korp Krieg model. Here are all of them. This one, it seems to be probing for mines with a scavenged Tempester helm. That guy's my original guy. This guy I made by taking a tank turret commander and putting some legs on him, and the other two are kind of less prominent miniatures. This guy's my favorite, though. Okay, next came the artillery pieces. I printed the pieces like on one plate for each artillery piece, and it's a good time to note that this is one of the only files that I paid for. All the rest of them were free. And I'm glad I did, because these are really good quality files that look a lot like the original Games Workshop models. The backspace of their bases are pretty bland, so I glued on a pallet and some crates onto the multiple rocket launcher model. Next came to base all of the Death Korp Krieg and Scions and the Ogrins, which I didn't show me printing. I apologize. This is the Lehman Russ that I made into a tank commander. By altering this tank commander's arm so it's pointing up instead of forward, and putting on a bit of a tank turret. I tried attacking the turret with a exacto knife and that didn't work out so well, so I made a turret, the ring around the turret out of some old sign, and then glued it on so that it looked more like the commander was inside the turret instead of just sitting on top of it. And the result is okay in the end, but still not the best. I ran into a problem when making these Death Riders. I almost didn't have enough resin to complete them. I had to resort to using a last little bit of clear resin, and then the second print that had all their arms almost didn't complete. Like, I got a warning from the printer that there was not enough resin. There was enough for the tiny print, but still. I also printed Lord Marshal Dreer in the clear resin. Fun fact, clear 3D printer resin glows under UV light. Next, I glued them to some oval bases, which you may notice all the bases in this army are laser cut. I do in fact have a laser cutter. This is Lord Marshal Dreer, which the details really come out when you shine it under UV light, as you can see here. I glued them to their bases with standard super glue and some alligator clips. And then Lord Marshal Dreer needed something special, so I took this old knight head and stuck it on the base. I built up some layers of cork, and then tried to cut around it. In the end, I had to resort to using a saw attachment on my X-Acto blade. While it took longer, it still cut a nice smooth oval. After using white putty, I used some Gorilla Glue to mount Lord Marshal Dreer on top of his pile. Or hill, whatever you prefer. Here is the army before I based everything, to show you what all I printed. The Tempestus Scions, Lehman Russ, Roll Dorn, which I kit bashed out with some pieces. Fun fact, old support mesh from FDM printers, when melted, makes great camo netting. And tarps. Here is one of the artillery pieces. And here's one of the Ogrins. All the rest are Death Corps of Krieg models. Except for the Tech Priest Ancient Seers that I printed. Technically the one on the left is a Necromunda Plague Doctor guy, but he looks like a Tech Priest Ancient Seer, so he is one. And that's it. Thank you for hanging around to the end of the show. You've been a great crowd. Hope you like this video. Don't forget to check out part 2 when it comes. If you have any tips, tricks, or advice on how to do better, please leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next video.